Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel Berg Scherer of Midwest Writing and Editing, and welcome to our very first video series together. I'm so excited to have you here, and I'm super excited to talk to you about the passive voice. This was a subject that a student messaged me about and asked if we could cover, so here we are. Let's get right to it. So today when we talk about the passive voice, we're going to talk about what it is, for those of you who don't know, and it's totally cool if you don't know. We're going to talk about why passive voice can be a problem. We're going to talk about when it can actually be effective. And we're going to talk about how you can fix it if you decide that you don't want to use it. So first of all, what in the world is passive voice? First, you have to know that all sentences have two parts. They have a subject and they have a verb. And in active voice, a very clear subject is performing a very clear action. The girl caught the ball. The girl catches the ball, right? It doesn't matter what tense it is. Active voice has a clear subject and a clear verb. But in passive voice, we don't always know who performed the action. The ball was caught, okay? And even if you add a subject, you're still using passive voice. The ball was caught by the girl, okay? Why is this a problem? Why does it matter? Why does it matter how I set up my sentence? Well, first of all, passive voice has a tendency to be very unclear. With no clear subject or with the subject coming at an awkward part of the sentence, your reader might not necessarily know who or what your sentence is about. Passive voice also tends to be a lot wordier than active voice. It uses a lot more words than active voice does, and almost always fewer words is going to be better, okay? And finally, passive voice also just tends to be a lot weaker. It's a lot weaker style of writing. Readers have a hard time understanding passive voice. It's one of those things where they get to the end of a sentence and they have to reread it and they don't understand why it was hard to understand, maybe because you're using passive voice. But it can sometimes be effective, and it's good to know that good writers, will sometimes use the passive voice on purpose, but they know that they're doing it, they know the rule, and they're intentionally breaking it, okay? So there are times that passive voice can be effective. If you're trying to hide incriminating information, for example, the girl was hit in the face, okay? We don't want our audience to know who it was that hit her, so we're gonna use passive voice. Sometimes the passive voice too can just eliminate information that's not needed. Police have been notified. We don't care that the dispatch office is who notified the police. We care about the police receiving the action and being notified, right? The experimental procedure was performed successfully. We don't care who performed it when we're interested in the procedure. And I think my favorite example of passive voice, rules are made to be broken. We don't care who made the rules. We're more interested in breaking them. All right, so how can you go about fixing the passive voice? If you do decide that it's not something that you want to use, how do you go about fixing the passive voice? The first thing to do is to ask yourself if your sentence has a clear subject. And if it doesn't, then you add one. So take a look at these three examples here. We're not going to correct them right now, but I want you to just take a look at these three sentences and hear how they each have passive voice, okay? The race was won. There's a question that needs to be answered. The bill is being considered. The boy has been bitten by the dog. Okay, now even in that third example, remember, like I talked about, you can sometimes have a subject, but if it's in the wrong part of the sentence, if it's in a phrase tacked on at the end like that, it's still going to be passive voice and your readers are still going to have a hard time with it. So I want you to look at the verbs in these three examples. Passive voice usually includes some form of the verb to be, which are helping verbs, which means they help the action verbs in the sentence do what they need to do. So in the verb to be, the forms in passive voice will be am, is, was, were, are, or been. If you see one of those 6 forms of the verb to be, then you know you probably have some passive voice. And those are very, very weak verbs, which is why passive voice is usually a weaker form of writing. It's not interesting, it gets really heavy, and it makes your sentence kind of convoluted. So if you see any of those verbs, if you're wondering, oh, why is the sentence just not working for me? See if you have am, is, was, were, are, or been, and if you do, then backtrack a little bit farther. Do I have a clear subject? Oh, I have passive voice, okay? And I think that's a really good first step for revision of any kind, is looking for those helping verbs. So now I want you to try, hit pause on this video and try rewriting those 3 sentences. Use a very clear subject and a much better verb than was, is, has, okay? Has been, excuse me. Really jazz them up. The nice thing too about something like passive voice or any step in revision is once you realize that you have it, it's an opportunity for to make your writing a lot more exciting. And adding really vivid, exciting verbs is one really good way to do that. So hit pause and rewrite those 3 sentences into something way more fun and way more jazzy. All right, how did you do? I want to hear how you did. If you need to go back, if you need to do this at another time, that's fine. But I really want to hear your revised sentences. I really want to hear who was winning that race and, who was passing that law or whatever the 3 sentences were. So pop on by to any of these 4 places down here. This is where you can find me. I'm at Midwest Writing at all the places. And I really, really do want to hear your revised sentences. I love hearing how students make writing better and more interesting and more exciting. And it's a great way to start along with that. And you can also follow along at all of those places for even more information and help for creative professionals like you. And if you are more interested in more, there is a lot more over at my website, midwestwriting.com. You'll find a bunch of writing guides, help getting started, making writing more impactful, tips and tricks for writing better and writing more, creating more content. I promise it is possible and it's even enjoyable to create more content right now. And you'll also find information there about the groups that I host and the courses that I teach, and all the insiders' access to my expertise and my teaching. So I hope this was really helpful for you. I hope that if nothing else, you're inspired to use some vivid verbs and to let them take action in your sentences. And if there's a topic that you really want me to cover, please let me know. This topic came from someone just saying, hey, I want to know more about passive voice. So if there's something that you want to know more about, I want to hear about it. Drop me a line on any of my social media channels or hop on my website and write me an email through there. However you want to get in touch with me, I want to hear from you and I want to help you. So again, let me see those sentences with all those awesome verbs and let me know if you have any ideas for future video series. And I hope to see you all very, very soon. Bye.